Everybody, what's up? My name's Hayden, and today I want to show you how to use Ableton to host click audio and guide tracks if you have them to use in a worship set. It's really easy to use. This is a basic template. It's not going to fire, your lights. It's not going to fire any Pro Presenter for you. This is just to host your click, your guide, your tracks. Super basic for using tracks in worship. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to open up Ableton 9, Live 9, and I just have the standard version in here. All right, so now that it's open, this is kind of the basic template or default template that opens up in Live 9. So I'm going to go ahead and do some rearranging. I'm going to go ahead and delete this reverb and this delay aux because we do not need them for what we're doing. And on this left-hand side, we need to go ahead and get 3 audio tracks and then 1 MIDI column. So let's go ahead and delete the second one since we already have one. And now we're going to add a 3rd audio track column. Cool. So now we got 3 audio tracks and then 1 MIDI column. And in case you just didn't know, this is a quick way to look. You can see right here, or even says MIDI 2, audio 2, or you can even look at the signal bars right here. And the MIDI bar right here. All right, so let's keep going. So we're gonna go ahead and rename these 4 bars. The first one is gonna be the MIDI bar, and I'm gonna label this songs. The next one, I'm gonna go ahead and label click. The third one, I'm gonna label guide. And the last one, I'm gonna label tracks. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and explain what each one of these columns do. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the tracks. The tracks host what tracks I have built or purchased for the songs, meaning if I'm doing Wake for this video, I'm going to do the song Wake in G. So I just want the track file to come here. That means all the instrumentation, all the key parts, because there's like 10 key parts in Wake, synth bass. I want the drum effects, the risers, all that stuff in this song. So everything's going to come into right here in this one block right here. And the way you do that is when you bounce the audio from wherever you get it from, you just want to make a file, just a WAV file with just instrumentation in it. And I'll show you how to do that in another video another day. But that's all going right here. This next column is going to be our guide column. And you might have guessed, it's just a guide. So for whatever guide you've built, or if you purchased one for multi-tracks, you're going to bounce that as a separate file, just the guide by itself, nothing else, no click, just guide. And then you're going to drop it right here. And moving on, same with the click. We're going to bounce our own click because we like to stop a little bit earlier, or want the click to stop when the track stop. That way the drummer doesn't think to keep playing through. It's happened before. So I built a custom click that stops at the end of the tracks. And last but not least, this is just the song column is just a label, meaning like it's just gonna where I just type the songs and what key they're in. It's just for my reference point, so I know where everything's at and where everything's going. So underneath the song column, let's go ahead and start labeling some stuff. So let's make our own empty box, and let's rename it to Wake and -G. That's just how I do it. It's Wake's going to be in the key in G. That's why I know. I'm going to make it yellow. That way I know it's this actual tracks and stuff, everything going. Then underneath it, I'm going to go ahead and make another box and rename it Click. And I'm going to make this color white. And what I do for each song in this template design I'm making is I want to have the top column of the song be the click, the guide, the tracks, and everything else at the top. And then I just have what's called a dummy click for me underneath here. So this is just going to be a click looping over and over, just in case we get off with the tracks, or pastor comes up first and he wants to say something, and then I can fire right into it. So that's why it's important to kind of have a dummy click right underneath it, because you just never know where you'll go or what happens in service. All right, so for the second song I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and label it. I'm going to label it Tremble. C. I'm going to do tremble in the key of C. And I'm going to make this yellow. It's a color thing for me, sorry. And then we'll go ahead and insert another MIDI clip right here and rename it. Click. And I'm going to go ahead and make this white. Cool. So now we got our songs labeled, and this is only 2. We usually do 4 songs at a set at my church, but we could do however many we want. You could go all the way down if you wanted to. So let's go to the right side. Let's look underneath master. So over here, I just insert the tempo of the song and the BPM. And what that does here is it tells Ableton what the correct tempo is. You know, right now it's just set to 120, but if I changed it, it would adjust here too for the song that I'm on. So let's go ahead and insert wake. I'm just going to hit Command R to rename. I'm going to type in 131 beats per minute, BPM, and then I'm going to put 4-4. So now when I hit this master play button, it's going to play everything in this column right here. And it's also going to sync it to Ableton's host tempo. So if I hit play, you saw how it switched to 131. So now we're at 131 for everything. And that works with tracks and loops and stuff in Ableton. Okay, so moving on, right below it, I'm going to insert the same tempo I just put up above it again. And you'll see why in a minute. And tremble. So now I'm moving on to tremble. I know tremble is at 74 beats per minute. And again, for the click, I'm going to do the same thing, 74 beats per minute. Time signature 4/4. And I'm going to go ahead and label these white because that helps me see better. Perfect. All right. So now that we have our template kind of set up how we want to, let's go ahead and insert our files for the song. So I'm going to go ahead and pull them up from my hard drive. I kind of have the folder right here. So these are all our songs that we have. I have a multi-track folder. Excuse the mess. Sorry. So here's Wake, and I'm going to go ahead and click the Waves file. Here's the key, G, and I've already bounced the audio from the actual session that I'm using. All these are just different edits that I've done with the song, but this is the main one I use for a weekend. So here's the bounce audio. Here's arrangement 1 folder. I have big intro because I want a big intro for Wake because countdown happens and we like to go in hard, strong, headstrong. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your WAV files, not the ASD files if you have them in here. Those are just Ableton files. But you're going to take your WAV file. So this one is, I labeled it click, so that's just my click coming down in this file. So I'm going to drag and drop it into Ableton underneath the click column. And boop, it's right there. So one thing to note, Ableton has this feature called warp. So it basically takes whatever audio that you drop in and warps it to the tempo that is assigned up here. So if I set this to a wrong tempo, or if it says it's at like 90 beats per minute, it's not going to sync up to the 131 beats per minute that Ableton's that you're telling Ableton that it should sync up to. So it's important to check when you drop it in to make sure that it's warped correctly at the right tempo. Or, you know, with this, you can honestly, you don't even have to warp it. You could just drag it all the way at the beginning to play. It's just preference at this point, but I'm just going to go ahead and unwarp them. So next I'm going to drop the guide track in, which is right here in that same folder from before. And as you can see right here, you kind of look at the waves. They're all just voices. You can just hit
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
And whoa, she likes to talk a little fast right there. So that's why it's important to make sure the warp is correctly. So we know it's supposed to be 131, but because it's just a WAV file, and I know I started everything at the same time, I'm gonna go ahead and unwarp it. So let's go ahead and back into it and pull the tracks in. Whoop. And there's the tracks. And I'm going to do the same thing. Go ahead and unwarp it. You can warp them if you want to change the keys and stuff, but that's a little bit advanced, so we'll get into that later. And next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and make all these the same color. It helps me visually see better. Cool. So the next thing we need to import is the dummy click. So we've made our own click here at our church that we like to use. You can use Ableton's click. It's right up here. You could actually turn this click off or delete it if you want to, and just roll with that click.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
But we like our other click, so I'm gonna bring it back. So now that you have everything unwarped, you could hit this master play button to listen to make sure everything's synced up.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So I think that's going to work for us. So I'm not going to touch anything with that. That's perfectly lined up. That's how I want it. And I built each of these to start at the end or the correct time of the song. So that's why they all lined up unwarped correctly. You could warp them and then adjust them, but I'm not going to. All right, so next thing I need to do is insert my personal click like I was saying earlier. Let's go find that in our folder. Where is it at? Oh, maybe I deleted it. Well, let's open my hard drive, and I know I store my clicks right here. And I want my 4/4 click, so I'm going to put it right beneath the actual click that I built for the song, and then over here in this row with the click. So I'm going to change this to white. And as you can see, it warped it automatically again. Now, if you're using your own click and you only build it 2 bars or something like that, you need to have it warped to the correct tempo you built it at. So I know this was built at 77 beats. And also, I need the length to only be 2 bars. I don't need it to be 4 because it's just dead space. So let's put it to 2 bars. And I do want it to loop, so I'm going to bring this loop bar, or the end of it, right here. So now you can see both these arrows, the start and the play one, are lined up. So when I hit this...
1, 2.
Whoops, sorry. So when I hit this row right here, it should just loop back over and over again. Boom. Perfect. And again, it's set, that's the correct tempo that this file was built at. So it's making it go to 131 because I'm telling Ableton to make it go faster. So it's important to have that, if you have warp on, to have those tempos correctly placed. All right, so we got our first song done. So let's listen.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So let's just say your pastor comes up, and he wants to give a thought or whatever. So I'm gonna go ahead and just have my click roll. I'll tell my band to play a progression underneath them. We're playing, and then we could jump right into the tracks per se with the next bar.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
And so this is just a tip I'm throwing in here for that. So that's kind of something, a little trick I kind of do. And the way how you get it to go after the next bar, you see this tab right here. It fires the next whatever measure. Like if you want to go to your next scene, it's however measure you want. I could do it for a half a bar if I wanted to,
1, 2.
See, it didn't go the full round. It just only did half of it. So it's just preference. I like to leave it at 1 bar though. Okay, moving on. Sorry, side note. Let's go ahead and find Trimble now. So I'm going to open my hard drive again. I'm going to go to multi-tracks where I have them labeled. As you can see, we've done a lot of tracks. So I'm going to look for a Trimble in the key of C, which is right here. And here's the bounced audio. Again, I've separated everything. So this is the click for Trimble. This is the guide. And this is the tracks. And that's all I need. The other file was a guitar track for something else we were doing. So I'm going to go ahead and relabel these the right color because I like yellow. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this click right here and post it right below it. Again, this is all just a dummy click. This is the click actually trapped out. That's where it stops. So I want to make sure everything's starting on time. So I'm going to let this one be warped. So that's 74, 74, and everything's starting at 1, 1, 74, 1, 1. So I should just have to hit play, and it should line up perfectly. Let's listen.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Verse.
Cool. So everything worked out with that song really well, and I left a warp on. That's fantastic. Okay, so now that you've got your template set up, you've brought all your tracks over, you got everything ready. Now the next question usually is, all right, so how do I separate everything? How do I get just the tracks going to the front of the house and the click and guide just going to my ears? Super easy. So just for this video, I only have 1 and 2 output, I think, on this interface. Oh wait, no, let me see what interface this is. Yeah, so we're only gonna have the 1 and 2. I'm running Soundflower, sorry. So we're gonna go ahead and change this audio to external out, and go ahead and do that with every one of them. And you could leave the master one, which is 1 and 2, go out, but we're going to go ahead and swap it out for this video. So usually the way we run it is I like to have my tracks stereo. So I'll go 1 and 2 to front of the house, and then I would just scroll right here and change it to 3, which I don't have it highlighted, but then I would go 3 and 3 for my click and guide coming down the same line. For the sake of this video, we're just going to go 1 and 2. So I want 1 to go to the front of the house. So I'm going to go to audio 2 right here. It's already set to external out, and I'm going to click 1. So now only one side of it should be just the tracks. Now I want my click and my guide to go down the other side. So we're going to click it to 2, which is our right side, I believe. And let's take a listen now with Trimble.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3,
you have headphones
4.
on, just the right side is just the click, and the tracks is just on the left side of your ears. Awesome. So now we know we got our audio split, and it's going correctly. And you would just, if you have an interface with DIs, you could just XLR direct out, or any kind of DI to 1/4 inch, or whatever you've got, sent to the front of the house, or whatever configuration you have at your church. Cool. So we have that all set up and ready to go for the weekend now. So the last thing you want to do is you want to come up here to File, and then you want to hit Collect All and Save. Now the reason why you don't just hit Save Live Set is because it's not what you have to do with Ableton. Ableton's just temporarily hosting these files. It's not actually in the correct folder where it pulls its source from. So like it's not in the titled project. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit Collect All and Save, and I want to pull everything, files from elsewhere, files from other projects, anything I've used in this session. So I'm gonna hit OK. That's what I want. So I'm gonna go ahead and save it to Untitled Project. Let's just save it to the desktop, and I'm just gonna call this, let's just say, Weekend Set, and then I'm just gonna hit Save. As you can see, it popped up right here on my screen. And one way to double check that is to open this folder, and you can see that it already pulled in the bounced audio folder that I was using earlier to find the songs, and there's all the files that are right here. Awesome. Well, guys, I hope that helped you learn how to kind of use Ableton in an easy way. This is a super easy template to start off with. If you're just getting to tracks and click, it's nothing advanced. As I said earlier, it's not firing MIDI or changing your guitar sounds, anything crazy like that. It's just for basically running your tracks, your click, and, your guide all together. All right. Well, hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you.